To honor their requests for anonymity, I combined their information into one voice that I call Sherman in my third book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, High Strangeness. The first time someone in a serious government capacity talked to me about one of the alien presences on Earth was a Washington, D.C. military source. He claimed firsthand interaction with at least one type of non-human like this one. He agreed to talk with me off the record about the gray type that he knew as EBENs, all caps, a government acronym standing for Extraterrestrial Biological Entities. The military source told me that this drawing was, quote, almost like a photograph of an EBEN, close quote. The only difference is the EBEN skin color is cement sidewalk gray. I have also been told that among the variety of gray-skinned non-humans, some have been observed to change colors to cream, brown, or pale green, depending upon feeding schedules. The EBEN eyes are not sharply slanted, but are almond-shaped with dark brown irises. I ask if the EBENs have vertical pupils like a snake underneath their brown eye surfaces, as some human abductees have described from encounters with gray types. The government man seemed unsure, but stressed that the EBENs have pear-shaped heads, not triangular with pointed chins like some other gray types that are not friendly to humans. I asked Sherman, then is it true that the EBENs and maybe other extraterrestrial groups, such as the Anunnaki, did manipulate DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien, as I was shown in that briefing paper at Kurland Air Force Base on April 9, 1983?
Yes, but it's a difficult subject. The EBENs have been here since at least the time of the dinosaurs. And according to a report I read, the EBENs collected one of each species of dinosaur and placed them either in one big planetary zoo or on a different planet. And that was at least 68 million or more years ago. So I guess they've experimented with life forms here ever since. After we had more communications with the EBENs, they explained to us, you have to understand that for an advanced civilization, you have robots and androids to do these things.
And Sherman said MJ-12 began to understand that the EBEN androids could be anything.
The androids can be configured any way the EBENs want for whatever mission the EBENs want carried out. The EBENs are controlling a big part of the operation concerning Earth, and we can't control everything they do. But I can tell you that the EBENs are big environmentalists, huge. They would make the Sierra Club look like Brownie Scouts. They were so worried about our nuclear tests and nuclear materials being exploded and contaminating not only the Earth, but damaging other dimensions of this universe.
And I said, do you mean, Sherman, that our atomic bombs impacted other life forms or even other dimensions?
Right. So that's one of the things the EBENs were very vocal about, how they wanted above-ground atomic test stop. And boy, were they stopped.
Well, from your point of view, are EBENs the only non-humans that have experimented genetically on this planet?
All I know is that the EBENs started an experiment, but they could not keep out other space travelers. Word got out that this planet was a strange place to visit, and that different experiments were not going the way the EBENs wanted. Part of the EBENs' problem might be because there are bad guys doing experiments too that might harm us. That really confuses matters when it comes to telling who wants to help humans and who doesn't.
And I said, people describe creatures that look like praying mantis insects. What are those?
As far as I've heard, they could be very advanced androids, which can oversee long-term projects that last for thousands, maybe even millions of years. But I'm not certain who they work with or for.
I ask, what is the relationship between the pointed chin grays and the EBENs? And Sherman said,
they were enemies at one time. They were supposed to live with our war today, but the EBENs have no control over the Greys. The Greys do their thing and the EBENs do theirs.
Well, is there a pecking order among the alien types?
To the best of our knowledge, no cooperation exists between the different alien groups. And I think there was a war about 6,000 years ago between the Ebens and the Blondes over territorial rights to a planet somewhere. I don't know if the Eben and the Blonde war was here on Earth, or at the Zeta Reticuli, or what.
So, I said both groups, the Ebens and the blonde humanoids, are making android creatures to do work for them on different planets?
That's what I understand. Androids come in many different types. Insects, reptilians, greys, humanoid, blondes, men in black, and others. All have an advanced implanted brain that can operate on its own, or by remote control. Ironically, we think some of these genetically engineered creatures have a higher intelligence than their creators. The Ebens and the blonde humanoids know how to mix and match genomes and DNA easily. They can make robots and androids that can be anything they want them to be. Remember that aliens are millions of years advanced beyond us.
Sherman said the Ebens even make blonde-looking containers that the Ebens control, while the blondes make Eben-looking container bodies that the blondes control. Think of a multi-layered chess game in which you need technology to tell you who the players really are beneath their body camouflage. He told me that he had talked firsthand with a U.S. Air Force captain who received telepathic communication from one non-human at a crash site in the Roswell region in 1949, not the 1947 July crashes. Walking around that 1949 site, the Air Force captain clearly received mind-to-mind telepathic communication from an Eben that looked like a dead body amid the debris. The captain said inside his head, he could hear crying and felt pain coming from the Eben body on the ground. Realizing there was a live creature communicating telepathically to the captain, higher authorities officially assigned the captain to live with the entity called EBA-1 at the Los Alamos laboratory in New Mexico until EBA-1 died of unknown causes on June 18, 1952. That Air Force captain who lived with EBA-1 said the ET told him that reincarnation, the recycling of souls, is the machinery of the universe. The captain also said that one of the most important telepathic transmissions that he ever received was, quote, "We made you. We put you here on Earth, but you have to live it," close quote. When I asked my Washington source what he thought that meant, he told me, quote, "Linda, the key to everything is ET creation of human ET hybrid body containers in which alien life force and consciousness can be placed." But he did not understand the big agenda. Abductee Linda Porter told me when the praying mantis and the Eben-type beings were showing her the light tube cloning resurrection technology, that she understood it was vital to keep some soul entities in human body containers for specific lengths of time. But it does not explain why Homo sapiens sapien must be used to make hybrid body containers to perpetuate alien life force. The aliens talked about the vastness of the universe, that there are life forms all over, Linda. It talks about a supreme being creating the souls and creating the containers and distributing the souls to the containers. To the Ebens, it's just basic facts.
There are only so many souls that can just continuously recycle.
Through life form bodies that are containers?
Right, exactly.
Well, Sherman, if there are more container bodies than souls, what happens?
I don't know. But souls are interconnected in some way. I think they told us because the Ebens have been around so long, they've learned that there are only so many souls in the universe which must be recycled. That implies a multiverse of many universes.
Well, Sherman, if there is a finite number of souls in this universe, and the Ebens know that, why are we living on a planet in which there is a steady exponential increase in the number of bodies? Does that imply that not all bodies can have souls?
I guess you have a point there.
And I said, well, and if not all body containers have souls, would the Ebens and blonde humanoids have some stake invested in souls? Like souls could be the coin of the realm, so to speak.
That's possible, I guess. I never thought of it that way before.
And I said, well, some abductee researchers, such as Dr. Leo Sprinkle, who's the Wyoming psychologist, and Harvard University psychiatrist Dr. John Mack, they reported what appears to be the same Ebens, or maybe other gray types, involved from human life to human life. The same alien being comes up in past life regressions at births and at deaths.
I don't know. All I do know is that the soul, when the body container dies, the soul keeps some thoughts or something from that life that was just lived. It's said in the Yellow Book that the Ebens are concerned about human souls if our particular species continued on this course. They are afraid we would damage our container bodies, and that could damage the souls. I realize the containers are the human bodies, and that was why they were so concerned with what we have been doing. The wars and so forth. They are afraid that the souls will be damaged by our containers. One of the MJ-12 guys, who had seen more of the Yellow Book, talked to me about an analogy. He said that when you put something in a container and you pour it out, there's always some residue that remains. Something remains in that soul. So when you pass the soul on in different containers, it picks up the residues of all the different containers it has been in, and a little of each remains and stays throughout. I guess there's an eternity. There's no end. I asked him, does the soul wear out after so many recycles? And he said, no. No, the souls never wear out. The Supreme Being makes sure that doesn't happen.
Sherman said, all I know is that the Ebens are supposed to have manipulated DNA in primates